if you are here with us, just also join us.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, sure.
Perfect. Anton is here. Yes. Mr. Mohammed also, please join us. And this is a trend, yeah? Institutional adoption scale with big money, it's always complicated. So, but thank you so much that you're staying with us. So our next panel is about scaling. My name is Kate, I represent on Cointelegraph Web2 Media. And to be polite and open the dialogue, I will give a mic to all my beautiful panelists to introduce themselves, because to know who is here, Anton was already here today on the stage, but still, maybe we have new faces, so please.
Yeah, so Anton from RWALabs, please.
Well, go ahead first.
I think that's it.
We know you. Just inside out, we know you. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
My name is Mohammed. Maybe some of you have seen me somewhere or sometime. I come from, maybe I'll tell everybody what nobody know about us. Yeah, let's put it that way. I am a software engineer by background. I am one of the major drivers, I will say, for innovations in this part of the world. I have created the first venture capital in this part of the world 20 years ago. And I have been instrumental in driving the ecosystem for the last 20 years. Now, the family, I think everybody know a little bit about the family. We are very conservative as a family. So what we talk about is very little from what we are actually doing. And that's why maybe the question in everybody's head today is why I'm here. And even the organizers will ask me, by the way, so it's not only you, why are you here? So but I will get to know that. We do a little bit in this space. We have been doing a lot in this space under different names, under different shapes, under different brands. This answers maybe some of the questions, but we will get to know each other's a little more as we speak and as we go. And I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be with you, and very happy to learn from everybody who spoke and from everybody who will speak later on.
Hello, my name is Carmen. I'm a managing director of GCEX. Perhaps people know me better when I was in Cointelegraph and also multi-bank group in the past. What we currently do now in GCEX, we process very heavily regulations from UK FCAs, also Danish FSA, MICA, MiFID, and also down to Dubai we have VARA license. So we are a very comprehensive prime brokerage. So I'm here to very honorably represent institutional side to share our insight and day-to-day workflows with everyone.
I wanted to start with one basic question. I'm from Asia, we rely on facts, and that's why we speak about scale. The fact is that everybody means scale different ways, different meanings under that. So I really wanted to start. What do you mean when we speak about scaling? From institutional side, when you assess, for example, projects or whatever, yeah, what you really look at. From practical side also, Mr. Mohammed, what do you mean when you feel that it's scaling, when you assess that from pilot to scale happen? It's very important to be on the same page. That's my first question. What do you mean by scale? What does it mean?
What do we mean by scaling?
Yes.
Our terminology. Okay. It's very different than your terminology, but we'll explain.
It's okay.
Hopefully we meet somewhere, yeah? I think from our point of view, when we say scaling, I came here early enough to learn from everybody else, which I value and I appreciate. Scaling means growing what you have or where you started or what you have started or the moment you have started. And that's the simple definition of scaling, which means if you are investing $1 million, you expect it to be 10 million maybe sometime. If you are not making it 10 million sometime, in my view, if you are making 2 million, don't invest 1 million, keep it. So that's the scaling point, yeah? So where the RWA started, which started a few years ago, and this is where we have been working on in Saudi Arabia before UAE, by the way. And that's another news, where I think Saudi Arabia started the legislation before anybody else in the region. But I don't think they have been active enough, and I don't think they have attracted the major players or the important players to the market. to be very transparent and to be very straightforward. UAE, like everything else they do it very good. They do their homework, and this is where I think they have done it at an excellent timing and excellent approach. They created the whole ecosystem. Now, again, I'm not happy with the scaling, if you ask me honestly speaking. I'm very straightforward, and sometimes I'm bold, so you can stop me sometimes if you want. I'm not happy with the scaling that we have reached in the market. I think the potential is much more than what we are. Maybe sometimes we get drifted and we get excited about what we are doing, and I can see it from everybody who was speaking earlier. Everybody is excited, which is very good, by the way. And everybody loved what they are doing, and everybody has loved being here, which we are very happy to have you all here and to work with you all. And this is something we value, and we learn, and we interact, and this is what makes the whole ecosystem work, right? But the scaling, I think still we are behind. Still there is much more to be done, and I think we'll talk about that later on.
Sure. Carmen, please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I like to be a little bit more interactive from TradFi point of view and also from DeFi point of view. Okay. Anyone from the seat here know what is forex spot tradings?
Yes.
Okay. Forex spot tradings is actually CFD with leverage. So, but there is a huge gap between TradFis and DeFi people to define what is this asset class, right? And another examples, what is the deliverables and also the futures tradings in here. So the future tradings in DeFi world, in definitions, they think this is non-settlement date and perpetuals. But in CFD, in TradFis, we define it as a settlement. It comes in a date. So first thing, this asset class, for an institutional point of view or to scalable, has to be well known, well understood from our language, from the institutional language, right? So what I see from the current offerings in the market and the existing, perhaps gold is the only asset class or instruments that can align and understand by the both worlds. This is what I see. And in terms for this item instruments to be able to scalable, we need to look at liquidity, any secondary market. If I tokenize it, anyone want to buy from me next day? The other thing is it banking rails and the settlement method being widely recognized or recommended? How can I settle this? Through a very trustworthy channels, through custodies, through banking, or through on-chain. Even it's on-chain, you have to be supervising and being regulated from a lot of perspectives. And the third one is, does this asset class being reused repeatedly, right? So why we use gold? Because whenever there's recessions happenings, when there is a major event happenings globally, automatically people will think that hedging against gold or carrying gold among the world could be the safest asset. So these are the three elements that we look at it if this asset class is scalable. I can continue for longer, but I'll let Anton. Yes.
Yeah. So I think both of the esteemed speakers kind of emphasize that you can have different metrics how you judge if we have achieved scale, right? And one thing that catches my attention that many times when people talk about real-world assets, they tell me we have tokenized hundreds of millions of dollars of some assets. And I said, okay, that's good. But for me, the scale will be then, but how many happy clients you have who have purchased those assets, right? Well, maybe those are institutional investors, maybe those are retail investors. And I found actually a very interesting use case with our friends who just left before I wanted to praise them from Pripco, no? So Pripco tokenized a couple of apartments in Dubai, together with some very strong partners, Control Alt, Zenbank, DLD, Vara. So they created this pilot, right? And what was very impressive for me was the amount of clients they onboarded within a very short time period. And these clients successfully purchased these tokens that represent small fractions in these apartments. And they had huge demand. Why I judge that is because they sold out these flats within like 1 or 2 minutes. So that's how I would judge, maybe even you can argue, well, Anton, the flat is not that big, why didn't they do a villa, I'm like, okay. But I think if you look who purchased those tokens and demand that they showed, I would judge scale like that, right? So maybe it's smaller size in dollar value, but maybe more happy clients. That's how I would judge scale, but I think you said it perfectly. If we invest $1 million, we need to get 10 million out, right, in terms of the added value. And I think there we're still a bit, we need to work there.
Thank you. We used this word asset class many times, and let's deep dive a little bit, because I think it's quite important and quite common narrative now that we should widen the asset classes, what is the next asset class. From your point of view, I can hear you practical people who hands-on in the topic here. So what do you think? What are the asset classes that will be really performing well? And that we hear now about real estate, about treasury, tokenization. What else, where you believe there are different use cases in the world? We see in energy sector, in gold, everything, yeah? Here in UAE, there are also trends in real estate, naturally part of blood. So what asset classes you believe are really the tokenization ready, and what will perform well in coming years?
Thank you very much. I think your questions are very difficult, by the way, but that's a heck of a question.
It is. Yeah.
Let me tell you what I can tell you. I cannot tell you everything. Yeah? I think the RWA in the first place, the way it is and the way it has been spoken about, is a financial layer. Yeah? It's not real estate only. Yeah. It happened that we look at it because it's more tangible, mainly from the real estate point of view. But I don't know if it's coincident or you meant it. You mentioned gold, for example. Maybe we are associated with that, but I'll explain a little bit. Now, when you come and talk about tokenizing gold, for example, or when you talk about tokenizing a fund, or tokenizing a company, right? Or people spoke to us about tokenizing jewelry. Now, a few things are tangible and can be done, and a few things cannot be done. And I'll explain to you a little bit and briefly why I don't think it can be done yet. Now, secondary market, back to your scaling question, secondary market, as was explained, I think one of the main aspects of the business is the secondary market, whether it's real estate or gold or anything you want. If you don't have the secondary market, then you are very tight. I think what the technology is doing, I think people have done great in the technology and they have invested a lot in the technology, but still they are not connected to the market and they are not connected to the business people in the market. And that's where I see the gap. And that's, if we fulfill that gap, then I think we will be much better. And we cannot fulfill that gap. We cannot scale. We cannot achieve what the technology can achieve if we don't connect with the institutions. Now, the institutions are shying away. It's obvious. We are talking about individuals. We are talking about investors who are buying and selling the secondary market and the initial market, whether it's real estate or fund or whatever. But where are the institutions, right? Still in this part of the world, I don't see them active, number one. Number two, I blame the technology innovators who have created great platforms, great technologies, and I love to see them talking and very excited about what they have created. But let's go to one of the real estate tycoons. You talk about real estate. Let's pick up on the real estate. Let's talk about one of the real estate tycoons. Let's go together to these tycoons. How much do they know about what you are talking about here, right? Probably nothing. Let's go to one of the major bankers here, when you talk institutions, right? How much he knows or she knows about what you guys are talking. Probably nothing, right? So how can we scale? We cannot scale, right? So as the education circle, I think we take the blame. We are not educating the market. I think these great people are investing a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of thinking in creating great projects, creating great innovations. But still, I think the market out there is much bigger than what you guys are doing.
Okay, I give also real-life examples. How long do you need to explain Bitcoin to very conventional people? So what happens actually in the real capital markets? They were actually tired and enough of explaining. This is why ETF happens, right? This is why iBit, iShares happen. So this allows institutionals asset and old money without understanding or exposed to so complex journey to exchange their fiat currency into cryptocurrencies, and eventually I reach the fractions of Bitcoin. Just transfer your fiat money, use the existing banking rail, SWIFT, IBANs, 2 days, 3 days later, you get your iShare in a coupon. This is the new asset class that institutionals can accept, can understand the logic and concept. So why and how we try to scale and institutional can be accept, the asset class has to be understandable, easy understandables, and not too complex, very intuitive for them to reach to the vault. Otherwise, they have very short attention and understanding, like an elevator speech, right? You spend too long telling what is crypto to them, they don't understand the logic behind. You tell them how good is these underlying infrastructures, cannot be reversed, it's truly peer-to-peer, computer powers. They don't actually understand and like to know what is the power to behind this technology. You have to treat them like a company, right? So this company is running good. There's actors monetary back, and we see the ongoing reason for you to hold it. Okay, simple. I understood it as an institutional point of view. I will hold a bit as an asset class portfolio to sit there for long term. This is something that institutions like to see and willing to invest from their partial portfolios, not all. Yeah. And another, as you just mentioned, for property, actually I have a different standing from a traditional like way of seeing a property. It's actually not necessary to be go on change and fractionals own. Why you wanted to be tokenized and fractional own this property? It's probably you wanted to have more corridor to collect the capital from smaller size or mediums investor. This is what I see. Yeah.
Maybe I'll be brief, but actually give an example that I think I mentioned before. So, in order for an asset class within this space of tokenization for it to scale, it really needs to solve a very pressing, urgent need among the investors or whoever is interacting with. And I'll give you an example. I think I might have shared this with a few of you in the corridor outside. So, as this turmoil in the region started a few weeks ago, right? There was a lot of activity that actually happened in the gold market, right? Because this region is the key globally for oil supply. And I remember as this turbulence started, a friend of mine who used to run a big family office in New York, he called me, he's a trader, he's still an investor, and he called me on Saturday evening and he said, Anton, I'm trading oil today because they want to hedge or buy or sell something. And I asked him, he's a traditional guy, I said, but why are you trading oil on Saturday evening? And he said, Anton, there's this thing called Hyperliquid, and there's this thing called Aster, all these exchanges, decentralized finance exchanges that offered trading in oil over the weekend when the traditional financial markets are closed. And if you then now take a look, how big was this volume? It was in billions and billions of dollars over the weekend, right? So that's when there's an opportunity to scale. This person had a pressing need, never bothered with decentralized finance, with crypto in his life, but he had a need to hedge his positions or hedge his supply, and the only way he could do that is in DeFi protocols. That's where we can achieve scale, that's where we can achieve a breakthrough. You need to solve an urgent pressing need of the end user, and then you can grow like this.
Thank you. I wanted to catch one topic that you already highlighted, yes, that before the market was mostly invested in infrastructure. It's very much supply promotion that technologies are ready, we can do that, we can tokenize, yeah, so it was a lot of that. Now, market started changing, investors started being interested, what we can do with that, how we can use it, but still gap is huge. From my own experience from previous months, talking to oil and gas companies, energy companies, big real estate management companies, they're a little bit lost. They're not completely understand what to do. They're ready for pilots and everything. And unfortunately, sometimes they need wrong partners or something who spoils the start of this journey, how to tokenize. I'm sure you already had practical experience in different cases. How do you think, speaking to institutionals, speaking to those who really have assets and want to start the journey, what is the easiest way how to overcome this gap? How to explain why they should enter the journey? How they will benefit? I wanted to start with you, Anton, because I know that you're now working with a lot of practical cases, hotels and everything. When you start talking with them, when you understand their need, what is there at the ground talking to institutions?
Yeah. So I would just raise it in like one sentence. The biggest concern, actually two biggest concerns, is what is the regulation? So how is the end consumer protection working if something doesn't go as planned? So they're many times thinking about the risks. So yes, they see the upside, but they see the risks. They want to mitigate those risks. And the second point is that, I mean, these people are very diligent, you know. I think that many companies, perhaps who are more on the crypto side, that there was a lot of innovation, a lot of freedom in the last couple of years, and even a decade, right? When you're talking to people who come from traditional finance, right? I mean, they have gone through a lot of these processes where they really are trying to mitigate all of the potential issues for the end users, for the end investors, and so also for themselves as an issuer. And they're just very, very diligent in that case. And then the question is often about the quality of the infrastructure, right? Because the quality of the infrastructure then reinforces the safety and the security of the platform, and also the safety and security in approaching the regulator and saying, hey, we have a great product, let's have a license for that. So I would say regulation, and that's why UAE is so strong, right? And second one is then the quality of the infrastructure. They want to see players with track record. They want to see players with governance, so strong board, strong investors, and they want to see high quality assets.
Very good points and very good question. Again, I'll pick up on the regulations, if you allow me. Yeah? I don't think there's any country in the world today which has created a strong and clear, as well as very robust regulations and legislations like Dubai. So that part is addressed already as far as the regulator and what do you expect from regulators is concerned. I don't think there is anything as far as legislation and regulations is required that you don't have it today in UAE. I'll not say Dubai, I'll say UAE. Okay? Now, what is missing, in my point of view, is us. We are not leveraging on that, to be very honest and to be very transparent. We take the blame. I think the opportunity is much bigger. What we are doing, everybody, without taking this personal, we are not doing what needs to be done. All what we are doing is very little in comparison to the opportunity. What I see everybody is doing and everybody was talking about is just a pilot. If you look at the size of the market, if you look at the potential there and look at the numbers of what we are doing is a pilot. The government have done that. They have went through the sandbox and the testing and the pilot, and they have already set up the legislation. But we are not leveraging on that. So that's number one. Number two, if you go to an institution today and you tell the institution or the real estate tycoon that, okay, we can do, or we were able to do the secondary market last week, but we cannot do it this week because the server is down. What do you think the tycoon or the institution will say, right? Those guys are covered by tradition, by nature, by experience, they are covered. And we say in Arabic, capital is always coward. They are not brave like you, they are not brave like the innovators, like the startups, like the entrepreneurs. You must keep that in your mind when you talk to these guys. Any mistake, anything that will show him a fear, you lose him and lose him, without even a question, you know? And this is why I say we are not doing enough. And I will let my colleague.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Usually what we, when we talk about pilot phase, it's always utopia, optimistic, and maximalist. No loophole can be found in their paperwork. When it's practical, what I see from my day-to-day job, back and forwards, the indications I need to log in our logbook, sometime 40 something, sometime over hundreds, the reporting that I need to fill in. So what is important and practical in real life, we still haven't find a unified standard to be able to visually for all the department and divisions up to government and also small to corporate to align with the let's say we combat AML, right? Yeah, anti-money laundering. This is the challenge I see. Yeah, at the moment, everyone is standing with their own blockchain infrastructures, shouting they are the best, they are the one to go to, but lack of the I would say acknowledgement or adoption from the centralized government. This blockchain cannot be last longer or actually implied in the daily use in the real world. At the moment, we only see a few standout or recognizable infrastructure change that adopted and recognized by the government and regulated. I would hope to see a more aligned or more agile alert system come from on top of the depth that could actually relieve our works a little bit more, yeah, from the institutional side.
Since you are such a hands-on approach, when you speak to institutions and they come to you, when they start their journey, in short, in brief, how you explain the biggest value of starting the tokenization journey?
So we emphasize three matters. So first one is liquidity. So with tokenization, with a secondary market, this is what we both explained, and with a liquid secondary market, assets that were previously not able to easily exchange, you can now do that. The second one is the ease of distribution. Now, of course, acknowledging the matters that you need to do on the regulatory side, but potentially you can place or distribute these assets, to wider group of investors at a smaller ticket size. And finally, efficiency. Right? So this is what we flagged down early in the day: immediate settlement, less paperwork, less friction, actually, less room for error. And these are kind of like the three layers or the three stacks that we emphasize to investors. And this resonates very well.
Liquidity means cash on chain included as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Liquidity, of course, is the key in the whole transactions, because without liquidity, without cash, without crypto or cash, nothing is going to happen. But I will say, or I will add, and I will blame the real world asset technology this time. I'll not blame people, if you allow me. Yeah. I think when the technology itself is presented that, okay, this is the future and this is the financial future layer, and we invite the financial markets to come and look at it in addition to the real estate, in addition to everybody else. We look at the technology itself as a fragmented, isn't it? Right? It's not the ecosystem, it's not one ecosystem. You have at least 3-4 different ecosystems. So if it's confusing for the technology people more than the actual business people, right? And this is why one of the things we have touched base and we have realized from our experience and from my experience, and this is what we have been working on for the last few years, and this is why I said a few of the things that maybe you will get to know about today and maybe in the future, that we are working on creating or solving this problem in the RWA by creating what we call it, what I call it as, with my background, as the Cisco of the RWA for the future, to solve the problem of having so many ecosystems and so many fragmentations, and hopefully we create it, and that will be very soon, by the way. Hopefully we launch it, that will solve and will address this problem for the technical side, for the developers, for the innovators, as well as for the markets. So then we can talk to the financial markets, we can talk to the real estate guys, we can talk to the other potentials and say, okay, now we solved one of the major problems, and liquidity, I leave it to you guys.
For us, what we see is integrations. A lot of the time, institutional, they don't look at other products, or they are more lean toward trustworthy. So if you are already a long-time partner, it's hard to shift them from one to another. If you have another just standalone products, it doesn't make sense for them to spend time and manpower into additional integrations. So a lot of the time, it's reintroduced to our clients or cross-selling. It's what we usually more practical in using. A lot of our existing pool of clients, they've been very familiarized with Forex CFD tradings, and now why not add it like tokenized gold? Why not add it a little bit Bitcoin CFD tradings? Okay, acceptable, because it's all in one integration into one platform. They don't need to take an extra step into another downloadings or another study that could possibly consume some of their time. So from this scalable institutional point of view, it's how can we operational efficiency. This is a very key takeaway for today.
Thank you, and I understand that our time is, yes, we are short of time, but I would be happy to ask a last personal questions. Why did you personally believe in tokenization some time back? Why you started investing your time, brain, and everything in this sphere? And how did you make the choice? And maybe there was one thing that occurred to be completely different than how you could expect when you just started. What was it? So your personal journey.
I mean, I don't think it was for tokenization, but I'll explain like how I started actually in the digital asset industry. So I worked at a big hedge fund in Switzerland. I was a high-frequency trader in FX. I don't know, in foreign exchange markets, I didn't notice actually the spread many times is zero. So when you trade dollar against euro, like the spread is zero for some specific reason. So we're trading as a hedge fund, ultra low costs. The banks do everything for you. I am Croatian. I was sending money from Switzerland to Croatia to my father. Took 3 days. They took a big cut, I don't even know what. My father is a big man, scary Croatian guy, would yell at the people at the bank. And then I was thinking, like, this doesn't work. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm working at the hedge fund, have the best conditions ever, do whatever you own, $10 million ticket size, no problem. And then my father, when he wants to go hiking with his dog, needs to wait and shouts at people at the bank. And then I realized like there's something not working there. And there was this new technology. I saw it more as a settlement infrastructure. You can put assets there, you can send them on this thing called the blockchain. People can trade it, hopefully the same terms as the big banks and big hedge funds, and that really inspired me to join crypto very early on.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you two more secrets before we go. I started looking at working on cryptocurrency back in 2016, 2017. Not now, and not when everybody else was talking about it. And that's, I think, where I realized the potential for cryptocurrency. With everything said at that time, if you remember, and if you want, I can remind you, about the cryptocurrency and about people working in the cryptocurrency, and obviously the risk involved, which I think the risk is in everything we do in our life. And with as higher the risk goes, as more the return is, right? That's the simple formula. Now, going to the RWA, or the real world assets, I started working on it back in 2022. And I looked at so many platforms, so many companies, so many startups, because part of what we do, as I mentioned, I think at the beginning, that we have venture capitals, we have the family office, we have the private equity, and for me, being from the technology angle, I think this is where people sometimes get connected with me, and this is where I enjoy doing, by the way. So from 2022, I looked at this RWA. It was not mature at that time, but I saw the potential in it. And the reason why, I will tell you, I see huge potential until today, and this is why I repeated a few times, and I mean it, that the market is still not tapped. With whatever excitements we talk about, whatever innovators love, and I like to see them loving what they are doing, but still the actual problem is not tapped, which is a simple problem, by the way. We don't need to look at the moon, we don't look at to go to the space. It's the fragmented ownership of whatever we are selling or whatever we are buying. This is the simple value that it brings on the table, whether I'm buying a fund, or buying a real estate, or buying a company, or buying jewelry in the future, or gold, yeah? This is the simple problem from the business point of view for the simple guy on the other side of the table.
For me, I think it's because the the globals has moved very fast that we cannot bear to stop by any seconds or any minutes even. So I do actually experience and benefit from the blockchain, how fast is a settlement now. This is technologies that can be sustainable and can be used and to our cost saving and time saving. It has to be solve some real world problem in order for human being to be inherit and continuously of using. Yeah. And this is the key takeaway.
Thank you so much. And just to, I want to say thank you, first of all, for you for this meaningful discussion, and to everybody, because I truly believe that whatever is happening is all about people. Because only actions of people every day, intentions, belief, hope, investment of time and everything, it changes something. So thank you so much for your intention to change. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.